to infinity and beyond.
This is me. This is how I win.
Were you rushing or were you dragging? Answer!
You're a wizard, Harry.
Say what again? Say what again? I dare you.
No, I am your father.
Hasta la vista, baby.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained?
And here we go.
Hello, world. Welcome back inside the film room. I'm Zach Goins here with Johnny Sobchak. Johnny, my friend, welcome to the new era. Welcome to a new day in America.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's right.
This is our first post-election podcast.
It's a brand new era, but everything's exactly the same.
But at least
it
we can
was a
feel
couple
better
weeks ago.
about things a little bit morally, maybe.
Yeah, morally for sure.
So for those of you who don't know, we took last week off because there was really no news other than the news, which is of course the presidential election. There was nobody thought it'd be a good time to be like, oh, guess what? WandaVision coming out on Disney Plus this day. Not now, Disney Plus. We're looking at Nevada.
Yeah, for sure. It was very much downbeat across every industry. Politics totally took over. Election cycle completely dominated the news. That's totally fine, though. Understandable. I was glued to it, and I know Zach was as well. And our group chat was popping off for days straight, with even the most minute updates. So
who's got Georgia? Who's got eyes on Georgia?
It was. I don't know. There's something about it though that was very like. There's a camaraderie to it, you know. There's like
your Twitter kind of transformed for like you went from like breaking Dune has reshoots in Budapest to now it's like breaking Georgia has 5% more votes come in.
Hey, I like
Johnny's trying to get that CNN gig.
I like to think I'm versatile. I mean, I do as much as I cover and talk about movies and TV and stuff, I do have interests outside of that, of course. I mean, I tweet video game stuff and sports stuff, things like that. But, you know, I think this year more than any other, I really kind of leaned into more socially conscious things and politically based things like that. But I know just so many people are tuned into that. And I know I'm not fully employed right now, so I kind of had the luxury of being able to just sit at home on some of those days and kind of just keep up with it. Whereas other people, I'm sure, don't. So I was just popping stuff off, feeding people info where they can get it. But yeah, it's kind of now with the entertainment industry kind of been rekindled over the last week or so. A good amount of news, some new, at least one new release, and plenty to talk about this week. So I'm excited to hop into it.
Yeah, definitely. We've got, like Johnny mentioned, lots of news to talk about. We've got a review, getting back to some new releases for the movie Freaky, latest from Universal and Blumhouse. Good old-fashioned body swap movie set at Friday the 13th. So that was obviously fitting coming out this past weekend. And in honor of that, since Vince Vaughn stars in it, we're doing our top 5 Vince Vaughn movies, which apparently is very challenging for Johnny to come up with. I'm interested to see what you were able to
I think honestly
up over there, because we know, listeners know, I know that Johnny's the high class movie guy, that I'm not watching it if it's not great kind of thing. Whereas I'm like, you haven't seen every single studio comedy from the mid 2000s.
I mean, high class is a bit exaggerated. I mean, one of my favorite movies of all time is Superbad. I mean, if it's good,
right, of course.
I just have very specific, I have high standards, I suppose, as far as just like what I consider like quality or not. I mean, it would definitely be higher than like the layman, I guess you could say. But I do think I have a solid. I mean, you really put me to the test on this one. I think I have a solid top 5 Vince Vaughn movies. maybe not everything that he starred in, or maybe his, bigger, as you said, mid 2000s, early 2000s comedies. But I got a solid top 5. And also, real quick, we did mention Friday the 13th. It was this past weekend. There's no way in the world that my mom listens to this podcast, but I do need to shout her out. Her birthday was on Friday the 13th, so happy birthday, Mom. Everyone should know that. Awesome, very supportive, loving mother who I adore and appreciate very, very much. So just gotta represent.
That was very tender. I'm sorry I interrupted that with the air horn. But one more thing before we get started. It's not a shout out to my mother, but instead a shout out to our Twitter account. We are at 998 followers. Hopefully by the time you're listening to this, we have crossed the 1,000 threshold. But if not, if you're listening to this and somehow do not already follow us on Twitter, go to @InsideFilmRoom, follow us, be number 1,000, because we just wrapped up our Baby Yoda giveaway. We just wrapped up our Bill and Ted's Face the Music giveaway.
Mm-hmm.
We have a bunch of giveaways coming up this week, next week, the week after, everything. It's giveaway season, baby. So all of those are coming up. Be sure to tune in to our social media, because not only are we putting out the great podcasts, the great movie content, the reviews, everything you want, but there's chances to win free stuff. So yeah, do it for the gifts. You know what? Retweet something and follow us and win a box set of Lord of the Rings to give to someone for Christmas. There, you just saved $90. Like, come on, man. It's a no-brainer.
Make it happen. Just make it happen.
1,000. We're on the way. But what else is happening before we dive into this? Johnny, how have you been this past, I guess, 2 weeks now? But
yeah.
What's going on in your world? I know there was a big purchase that came through.
Oh yeah. It was a partial purchase, I guess I would say. For those of you who don't know, my birthday is it's impending. It's like
the ham horn is getting ominous. A workout.
Yeah, it's ominous. It's right around the corner. On November 25th, I'll be turning the big 24. So, but with that on the horizon and the PlayStation 5 just releasing, I coerced my parents into kind of splitting that with me for my birthday present this year. That's the only thing I really wanted or asked for. So I did get that, thankfully, somehow by miracle in September when the pre-orders launched. I was able to snag one through Amazon, and it is a Blu-ray 4K Ultra HD disc drive version. I did not go digital because, as a movie fanatic, I am glad and excited to update my home media. So I've kind of been hoarding over the last few months a lot of 4K titles, and that's been exciting. Just over the last few days, I've demoed a bunch. I've gone through my TV settings and kind of recalibrated a lot of things according to that. And definitely 4K HDR. I mean, that's the wave. I mean, it's a huge difference. I mean, I'm kind of blown away because I haven't been exposed to too much of it, having not owned a 4K player until now. But I've checked out. I watched The Matrix with my parents last night. It was beautiful. I've also been looking at 2001, Space Odyssey, Interstellar, all the Christopher Nolan movies on 4K. And then The Martian. Space movies, of course, as a sci-fi junkie, everyone knows. I've been all over that. And then, of course, on the game side of things, I haven't gotten anything right now brand new at release. Just because, as my birthday is right around the corner, maybe someone will get me something, a game or two. That way I can save $70. But if not, I'll definitely go ahead. I 100% plan on getting Spider-Man Miles Morales at some point in the next.
It looks incredible.
It looks incredible. 4K, 60 frames per second, ray tracing, all that good graphic stuff, smooth gameplay. Really excited about that. Huge fan of Into the Spider-Verse, of course. I didn't play the PS4 Spider-Man game, so I hope to get the Ultimate Edition, which includes the remastered version of that game, so I can kind of get the whole story. So I'm looking forward to that. And then, of course, Cyberpunk 2077 is a few weeks away as well, December 10th. So that's kind of the main thing, the main event I'm really looking forward to, even though that's not a full-fledged next-gen game. It's kind of maximized graphics and everything on the PS4. That's like what I'm really excited about. But in the meantime, it does come preloaded with a free game called Astro's Playroom, which is getting super good reviews. I think it has an 82 or 3 on Metacritic, and a user score that's in the 90s. And I don't have a Metacritic account, but I can absolutely certify that is valid because Me and my sister and her boyfriend over the last few days have been spending, like, we have spent several hours at this point playing that game. It's a platform game similar to like Sonic or Mario, or Little Big Planet in a way, and it is just so much fun. There's time trials, there's different levels, different worlds, and you kind of get the full range of what the dual sense controller can do and all the haptic feedback, things like that. So it's been super fun. I've been really impressed, and that was cool they threw that in for free. So would definitely recommend checking that out if you have been lucky enough to get a PS5. So very fun experience so far. Very happy with it. Looking forward to the next decade or so with that. I'm pretty much PlayStation for life. That's what I've played from the very beginning of PS1. So yeah, very, very excited. Been looking forward to it all year. And in a dim year in a lot of ways, this is kind of one of the bigger highlights, I would say.
Yeah, it's funny. I texted Rebecca, my girlfriend, on November 12th and said, man, PS5 comes out today, babe. Still waiting on some package to show up. It's crazy. I hope she's listening to this because I've been checking the mail every day.
Hey man, those things are hard to come by. It's like people are fiending out here.
They've got them like StockX where like you can sell shoes and stuff like sneakers. They have them up there for like $800, $900, and I'm like,
good
dude,
grief.
I'm just gonna wait until I can actually get one. I'm not gonna. I don't need it that bad to pay double the value. So
yeah,
I don't know what kind of
yeah,
insanity is going on, but
that's not okay.
I'm out.
I'm sure over the next, like, the holidays and maybe after that, getting to the new year, they'll have more supply coming in. I mean, with the pandemic, I think that's certainly taken its toll, but hang in there, people. I know it's not easy. I would certainly be feeling a little bit down if I didn't have one yet, but I got lucky and very happy, but hang in there. I know how it is. I've seen lots of complaining on Twitter and social media recently, and that's all valid. So it's exciting, but a little bit mixed on that side of things.
So I actually was with Rebecca when that happened, and it was like when Walmart was doing their their like refresh and all that stuff, like every hour or whatever. And so one of our her roommate was with us, and then another person, and he was like trying to get one, and he actually did end up getting one.
Wow.
But so Rebecca's roommate's boyfriend was not there, and he had been wanting one. And so we pulled a little prank and used the screenshot of the receipt from the other friend, and she texted her boyfriend and was like,
no.
I was like, tell him, did you want the digital or the regular one? I got regular. And then he was like, FaceTime and was like, no. Are you serious? No. I felt so bad, but at the same time, it was like absolutely hilarious.
That's so, I don't know how I'd feel if my girlfriend did that to me. Damn. Reagan was like, hey, I'll try to get you that PlayStation 5. You really want that for your birthday? I was like, no, babe, I got this. It's okay.
Rebecca needs to take notes.
Reagan was all in on that, but she's actually coming through. I'm super excited because she always likes to do like surprise and personal things as far as like presents and gifts and my birthday and stuff. And of course, I'm a movie freak and I'm into video games, and so that kind of is easy to tip her kind of on what I'm into or like looking forward to or wanting.
Right.
And I have a very firm suspicion that Middle Earth will be appearing in 4K this November and December at my house. So very, very excited about that. One of my, I know Zach Goins here is not the Lord of the Rings fan that many others are, but one of my favorite trilogies or just some of my favorite films ever. So I can't wait to see what that upgrade looks like. Super, super excited. So shouts to Reagan as usual.
Hey, you don't want to jinx anything. Now she might listen to this and decide not to get it. So.
She's like, yeet.
Other than PS5 though, I know you got to see Pieces of a Woman, the upcoming Netflix movie. I wasn't able to attend this like virtual screening thing and check that out, but I definitely want to get my hands on a copy of that. But give the people a little rundown, because I really wasn't super. I know you're always like months in advance knowing about all the award contenders and stuff, but like even now I'm still not super up on everything about that movie.
Yeah, so this was a surprise. I got this email on Tuesday, I believe, and it was a collaboration between Netflix and American Film Institute, and they were doing this. And North Carolina Film Critics Association, I'm a member, Zach's a member, And of course, there are some perks that come with that, which is always, greatly appreciated. And this is one of them. We got access to this online screener, and it was that Thursday. It was a very quick turnaround, and got to watch that. I as you said, I do kind of keep track of a lot of different movies, especially the ones that from filmmakers I know of. But this one was very much under the radar all year. I think we had heard Vanessa Kirby was doing something with Shia LaBeouf, and a lot of people are fans of them, and I'm a fan of them. So that was kind of something I had known about. But then Venice Film Festival came around, and it was then back in September when that was happening. Kirby won Best Actress of the festival, and then Netflix very quickly snatched up the rights to it, and that is now set for a December 3rd theatrical release, 30th of December theatrical release. And then January 7th streaming on Netflix. And yeah, I knew it was very heavy, very dramatic and sad in a lot of ways. And man, I just was not prepared. I mean, I went in with some pretty high expectations just because she had won the award. Netflix grabbed it. The reviews have all been good. They haven't been amazing. For anyone on Letterboxd right now, I think it has a 3.5, which is pretty middling, honestly. But I was just shattered in the first 20, 30 minutes of this movie. I mean, it was not only was the filmmaking incredible, but just emotionally, what's going on in this movie. I mean, it wrecked me. And then I was a little bit worried after that it would kind of, teeter off or not hold my interest. But I thought it just from beginning to end, I thought it was a excellent film. One of my absolute favorites of the year, one of the best I've seen all year. I hope I'm really I'm all in on Vanessa Kirby getting her Oscar for this. I know there are, Frances McDormand, Viola Davis are contending. And those are huge powerhouses and they've won Oscars before, but I just think it'd be cool to see, not only do I think it'd be cool to see her win just because she's kind of younger, newer on the scene than them, but I mean, I genuinely think this is the best performance I've seen all year. And I have seen Frances McDormand in Nomadland already. I haven't seen Ma Rainey's Black Bottom with Viola Davis, but she was fantastic. Shia LaBeouf was fantastic. And Ellen Bernstein she was so good. Ellen Bernstein, she plays Vanessa Kirby's mother in the film. And she should be nominated. I think, Vanessa Kirby will be nominated, of course. I don't think Shia will get in just because that's much more competitive. But as far as awards potential, I think that's all pretty much locked in. I really think, outside of that, I mean, the cinematography was brilliant. The editing was so good that it's adapted from a stage play, and I thought the writing was just really well done and adapted well. So yeah, also my favorite ending of the year without spoiling anything. Oh, I cried so much. I cried during that beginning section and then a little bit here and there throughout, but yeah, totally recommend checking that out as soon as it's available. January 7th, again, streaming on Netflix. I will have a full written review coming up on the website. You can check that out later this week. And I would, again, can't recommend it enough. Definitely give that a look when you have the opportunity to. So
yeah, I'm bummed that I missed out on that. I was busy during the limited window that we were able to check it out. But
yeah.
And then, like you mentioned, it was such short notice and a quick turnaround. So
yeah, it was. And I'll also say just real quick that there was also a very cool Q&A that was pre-recorded, and they played it alongside the screener. So there's some cool insight to that, and Vanessa Kirby and Ellen Burstyn, they were talking about it, and the director and the screenwriter as well, Kata Weber. So that was all very, very cool. And also the stage play, I don't know if the screenwriter is Polish or not, but the stage play was originally performed in Poland, so shouts to my roots there. But yeah, so very, again, thankful for that opportunity. And I can't wait to see it again. I mean, I'm already looking forward to January. So
yeah, well, something you can look forward to in the much closer, as in this week, is a movie that I got to see, which is called Run. It's coming to Hulu on November 20th, this coming Friday. We'll be reviewing it next week on the podcast, but it's a psychological thriller kind of, it's by Anish, or the filmmaker and the writer is Anish Chaganty, who is the man behind Searching, with John Cho, the online thriller, the tech thriller. But I got the chance to actually sit down with him via Zoom and spend a little time talking about it. We got to do an interview. So that will be coming to the website and to the YouTube channel this week. My review of the movie will be up tomorrow, I guess today by the time you're listening to this. And like I said, both of those will be available on next week's podcast, our full review and the audio from that interview. But this movie was great. But the embargo will be lifted by the time you were listening to this, so I'll go ahead and give a little detail. But I really enjoyed it. I loved Searching. I don't know if you saw it back in 2018, Johnny, but
I haven't. No.
I would definitely recommend that because it kind of this movie and that they go very well together. Searching is obviously about it's got like the whole tech thing going for it, but other than that, it's a very like intense and emotional movie about a man trying to find his missing daughter. And then this one kind of flips the script. If you've seen the trailer for it, you know it's a daughter who has a mother who it's kind of like a Munchausen's by proxy situation where this daughter has been kind of living this secluded life, being homeschooled by her mother and all this stuff. And then she's wheelchair bound, and then something happens and she kind of starts to think like, wait, is my mother not really as helpful and caring as she seems? So it's like the complete opposite of like a sinister parent versus a parent willing to do whatever it takes to save their child. So very exciting. That was one of the questions I was able to ask Anish, just kind of like what inspired him to go down such a dark path from opposite of what he's done so much previously. So definitely be on the lookout for all of that stuff coming this week. I'm really excited to get that out there. That was a big, I'm trying to catch up with you and your Donald Mowat interview. You know, I need to start bringing some talent to the table. So that was exciting to get to do that.
Yeah, I can't wait. Definitely exciting. Definitely. I do need to go back and check out Searching, and then of course Run coming up is good little double feature, I would assume.
Yeah, for sure. But that is next week. Let's get down to this week and this past week. Are you ready to get into some news here?
Yes, sir.
Off the top, got some WandaVision news at long last. For those MCU heads out there, the people who are dying to figure out when this is hitting Disney Plus, we now know January 15th. Little later, we were told that it was coming in 2020. We'll have to wait an extra 15 days for the season to kick off, so it's not too bad. But we also got an EW feature story, cover story, in Entertainment Weekly. And I'm not going to lie, it didn't really give me too much more information. I don't know if you were able to go through it at all.
It seemed very, very, minimal.
It basically kind of confirmed all the stuff that we know. Like, this is going to lead up to Doctor Strange. It's going to play directly into that. It's going to lay the groundwork for Scarlet Witch and her expansion. It's going to – there were some, like, fun little, like, Easter eggs and, like, tidbits that we learned about, like, okay, they wanted to channel the like, 1950s sitcom, so the crew came in dressed in 50s era clothing. They filmed in front of a live TV audience. They, like, did stuff on wire props. Like, that's all very cool.
Yeah,
but
for sure.
And, like, I can appreciate that as, like, a fan of, like, TV and filmmaking and stuff.
Right.
But, like, if I'm just like a crazy Marvel junkie who's like, give me the details. When is it, like, what's going on?
Yeah.
Then I was kind of like, from that angle, I was a little disappointed in the feature.
Yeah. And we got some cool images. I mean, it was nothing, as you said, too out there, too new. But it's always nice to get some new content. And I think the biggest piece of this is that, of course, the release date, like a final firm date. It was long suspected it would be this year, late this year, probably December. But now we know for a fact it is January 15th, which isn't super far off. I mean, it's 2 months. And I think that kind of will give some breathing room between The Mandalorian and then this.
And Soul in the middle.
And Soul right there in the middle on Christmas Day. So, yeah, I think, Disney Plus is a good slate of, exclusive original content coming up. I still need to get a copy of The Mandalorian. I'm kind of waiting. And then, of course, Soul is one of I think as of right now is probably my most anticipated film, and has long been one of my most anticipated the entire year. And this show in particular, WandaVision, I think is the number one thing I've been most excited about as part of Disney Plus, like original content and these MCU shows that they've been basically in production for, it seems like forever now, and just announcing new things and doing casting and shooting and whatnot. So yeah, I can't wait. I'm not disappointed with this story. I didn't need more information. I got the trailer with the Emmys, and it looks amazing. I knew it was going to be amazing, and all I need now is to just see the damn thing.
Right, like we're close enough that it's not like I still need a ton of
Right.
stuff to get me through. So like you
Yeah.
said, just 2 months away. I mean, I just kind of want to see it at this point.
For sure. So I can't wait. I'm not rushing to get there, but as soon as it launches, I'll be checking it out.
You're not going to be 3 weeks behind on this one like Mando.
Nah, I should definitely be able to take advantage of that right away. So,
some stuff that is also coming soon. I guess that was kind of a weak segue, but
it's coming soon, I guess.
well, one of them's soon. One of them's not as soon, but I guess
That's
still
true.
sooner than WandaVision. But
Right.
some Netflix reviews for some potential awards contenders. We've got one on the positive side, one on the negative side, but I have not checked it out yet. But Hillbilly Elegy is not doing too hot. This is, of course, the film, the Ron Howard film starring Amy Adams and Glenn Close. 29% on Rotten Tomatoes, and it's being chastised on social media as one of the worst movies of the year. Just the Rotten Tomatoes critic consensus says, with the form of an award season hopeful but the soul of a bland melodrama, Hillbilly Elegy strands some very fine actors in the not so deep South. Like, we knew from the start, we know that Amy Adams is talented, we know that Glenn Close is, we know that neither of them have won Oscars. When we first saw the trailer and the poster and everything, we're like, okay, this is Oscar bait. So we thought it'd at least be like Green Book level, like that kind of like, okay, this movie isn't great. It's clearly just made to kind of be an award contender. But man, it's going to be hard to justify anything at 29%.
Yeah, the critics aren't the Oscar voters, of course. And
right.
That's something to keep in mind. But it is, that's a very damning reception, I think, on any level. It's going to be interesting to see what the industry thinks of this, the Academy. I've even seen a lot of people saying this is like Amy Adams' worst performance, which is, I love Amy Adams. She's one of my favorite actors, and it would just suck for her to just completely fall flat in this. The trailer looked very, very not good. The writing, just how everything's presented, it looks like almost like a Lifetime, like melodrama, like Lifetime channel movie. So yeah, never had high expectations for this. Never was excited for it. So that's kind of on the bright side as far as like what my expectations were, and I'm not bummed out by this news or like this reception. But it's, I'd rather it be a great movie than this, of course.
Of course, yeah.
But
you never want a movie to be awful, but
yeah. But I'm not surprised by this, and I think Glenn Close. I think she's just so. I don't know. I've heard good things about her, even from the people who did not like the movie or thought it was bad. So I think maybe just because she has so much. She's one of the most celebrated actors ever. So. If she's quite good in it, even if it's very poorly reviewed, I could still see her, getting nominations. Is she going to get her win for this after, 7 nominations? Probably not. But who knows? Amy Adams seems much less likely. And it's very, very weird. I think Ron Howard, I like some of his films. I haven't seen a lot of them. I'm a big fan of Rush. I saw that in theaters when it came out. That racing movie with Chris Hemsworth and Daniel Bruhl. But I haven't seen Apollo 13 yet. I haven't seen A Beautiful Mind. So I haven't seen some more of his classic films. I just kind of feel like he's more in danger of like being a meme more than a filmmaker at this point, which I think is kind of a danger for a lot of filmmakers in the social media era. But I hope that, and also he has that thing going on right now where Lulu Wang has kind of been challenging him on the fact that he's trying to adapt a story of I believe, Chinese violinist, some sort of musician, and kind of his life story, and doing a biopic on that. So I don't know. It's very, very strange the way his kind of career is like going right now. But I don't know. I can't wait to hear what you think about it.
I'm gonna be that. So it comes out November. It's already out in limited theaters wherever they're open.
Yeah.
And then it comes out on Netflix November 24th. So I will have my review up on the site by then. I'm interested to see it, but
can't wait.
We'll see. But on the flip side of the Hillbilly Elegy dilemma, Netflix has a surefire winner, it sounds. We got first reactions, social reactions to Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, and they're glowing. Like, this is incredible news. Everyone's saying how great Chadwick I mean, obviously we all know Viola Davis is great, but just the focus here, obviously, since his passing, is how is Chadwick Boseman final performance. And everyone has just like absolutely gushed over him, said it's incredible, said that he saved his best for last, that regardless of his life or death, that he would still be getting the same praise right now. That's just how good the role is. So that's incredibly encouraging to hear. So excited to check that one out before December 18th, I believe, is the release date there.
Yeah, super excited. Super, I think, as you said, even before he passed away, or if he had not passed away, this would still be a very big movie to look forward to, as there's just so much talent involved. And it was kind of the opposite of what Hillbilly Elegy was, like, in my mind. Like, I've known about this a long time, always had high expectations, always been pretty excited about it. But yeah, these reactions only confirm what I had been suspecting. So can't wait. Wish that was coming out sooner, but there's a lot between now and then. So
yeah. Well, a little more regular news, I guess, not awards season, but we did get some interesting stuff. I guess this is the last big one to really dive into, and then we've got some quick hitters. But that is the fact that Johnny Depp is out of Fantastic Beasts, no longer playing Gellert Grindelwald. Fantastic Beasts 3 was slated to come out in 2022, I believe, and now it's been moved a little bit further back to July 15th as they seek a replacement for the character of Grindelwald. And I don't think it's official yet, but Mads Mikkelsen basically seems to be the move as coming on to take over this new villain. Thoughts on, I guess, the franchise as a whole, more specifically, though, Mads Mikkelsen playing this character? I know you wanted Colin Farrell to just go ahead and come back. Yeah,
and I think I had seen it somewhere. I don't know if it was like a legitimate report, if it was just a rumor or kind of, speculation, but Colin Farrell is, of course, doing the Batman right now, and Fantastic Beasts 3 is also trying to film right now, and that was kind of like saying, okay, there's no way he's going to be able to do both. Which is fine. I mean, I like Colin Farrell a lot. I think he would have been a cool choice, but I love Mads Mikkelsen. I mean, I think the aesthetic fits. I mean, it's very easy. I think you can translate the look of Grindelwald from the what we've seen so far with Johnny Depp in the role to Mads Mikkelsen with his hair and that the facial hair, whatever they want to do.
I hope they don't do that though. Like, I'm not trying to have this. Like, he looks like you ever saw Santa Claus 3, with Tim Allen. He looks like Jack Frost in that. Like, give me something a little better than that.
I think it's either going to be the exact same look or it's just going to be Mads Mikkelsen.
I feel like they should just go ahead and acknowledge, be like, hey, yeah, this isn't Johnny Depp anymore. We're not going to try and make you think it is. Give him at least keep the bleach blonde hair or whatever, but like at least do it a little different. So it's like,
I would say just take Mads Mikkelsen's real hair and like have that bleach blonde like color to it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Have him be like rough.
Don't do it spiky or anything like that.
Right. I mean,
I agree with that. I think that's fair. But yeah, it's weird because I think I've been pretty vocally unenthused with the Fantastic Beasts movies so far. I quite literally do not care if these movies ever come out or are ever made. I have not seen the second one. I saw the first one time in theaters. It was fine, pretty good. But no, not interested at all in the second one. Does Mads Mikkelsen bring me in for this third one? I don't.
It definitely makes it more appealing, more exciting.
It definitely makes it more appealing, just because he's so talented, and I think that's so cool to see him in a blockbuster kind of setting. But he was in Doctor Strange too as the villain, and I didn't think that movie was all that great or anything.
Right.
I wasn't like his character was very two-dimensional and not memorable. So, maybe Grindelwald will have some more interesting, things to him this time. I heard another report or mention in I think it might have been THR, the Hollywood Reporter, apparently this third movie is going to be very much split between Dumbledore with Jude Law and Grindelwald in another third of the movie, kind of like having a lot of screen time, and then of course like the main of Eddie Redmayne as Newt Scamander. So he's gonna have a lot of screen time, it seems like, and I think that's why they wanted to get Johnny Depp out. I know why they quickly want to replace him, and why they also have moved the release date. So July 15th, 2022.
Also, the fact that Johnny Depp had only shot one scene, but because of something in his contract, he still got like his full paycheck. So he made like millions of dollars.
Yeah, who
shooting
scheduled
one scene?
Who scheduled him to start filming so early? They knew this. They knew that this legal settlement was like decision was coming out. Like someone, like I don't know, someone should probably get fired and probably has or will get fired over that like terrible decision, because I mean, of course they can afford it, but like it's just so silly. I feel, but we'll see. I wish the best of luck to all parties, but I'm glad they made this decision. I think the replacement is a good one. So
yeah, agreed. I mean, I've always been, no secret, I've always been a diehard Harry Potter guy. I love the books, the movies, everything about it.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty much like I enjoyed Fantastic Beasts, the first one, I guess, as much as most people did. It didn't blow me away, but it was just fun to be back in that world and a new place.
Mm-hmm.
Then the second one, I mean, there's no hiding that it was bad, but I feel like I still just kind of like enjoyed it more than most people just because of that kind of Harry Potter fandom and willing to kind of trust the process and be like, okay, this is where they're taking that. Like they've never let us wrong before. Like I kind of, if she who must not be named was like writing a greater plan, like I'll have faith in it. But I mean, this makes me more excited about it. I'll still definitely see it. But yeah, I mean, it's still so far away. Still, I guess mild interest, but definitely gonna see it. So
yeah, and I think going from that to something where I have a lot more interest, that is also coming out in July 2022, is Jordan Peele's next.
A week later.
A week later. Yeah, right after Fantastic Beasts 3, supposedly, is Jordan Peele's next horror event film. It will be the third, and apparently he has. I've seen it said that he has like 4 already kind of in mind, and the first 2 of course were Get Out and then Us. Get Out in 2017, Us 2019, and now in 2022 we will get this third film and a fourth supposedly on the way. There are absolutely no other details to this. There's no casting, there's no no images released, no title, nothing. So it's exciting to know this is in the pipeline. There's also been a little bit of reporting and speculation about what kind of people they're going to try to cast for. And the main thing was being said that the main character that they're looking for will be between like 20 and 30 years old and will be a male actor. And they want either a Latino actor or a like Native American indigenous actor for the role. So that definitely kind of narrows it down. Of course, in Hollywood, very vastly white. And so far in Jordan Peele's films, of course, Daniel Kaluuya had that huge breakout in Get Out. And then Lupita Nyong'o really led Us, and of course, Winston Duke. But yeah, I don't know. Who would you like to see? Do you have any ideas? Have you seen other ideas thrown around that you like for that kind of lead role for this potentially, if that those reports are accurate?
Well, before you mentioned I hadn't heard that criteria that you had raised, but I know that obviously Lakeith Stanfield was in Get Out in that small role as the Get Out guy. But since then, to see him kind of come into his own a little bit more with some great roles, I think that to see them reunite with him as like the starring vessel would be excellent. But again, that doesn't meet the criteria that you had mentioned if that's what they're truly going for. But I can't think of anyone off the top of my head. I know you sent out that tweet and got some good responses. What did you see as the overall vibe?
The main two responses, again, very limited options, is, they could go with a completely unknown. They could go with a brand new person, that like their first role or something like that. But the two names that I saw thrown around, of course, the bigger one here is Anthony Ramos, and that is out of Hamilton fame, of course.
A Star is Born.
A Star is Born. Also, he appeared in Godzilla King of the Monsters in a very small role. He did a voice.
In the Heights. He'll be in that when that comes out.
In the Heights, yeah, which was supposed to come out this summer and got delayed till next summer. So his star is certainly on the rise. I think the timing would make sense. He's a little bit more famous, even though he seems so
like, I mean, knowing how dark and intense these movies often are with Jordan Peele, I feel like he just strikes me as like such a like light, jovial kind of guy. Like
exactly,
he's gonna have to get messed up for this.
Yeah, and I think that would kind of be exactly why it might be appealing to him. If he were approached about it, or if that his name came onto the table. He's also 29 years old, so he fits the bill as far as age. And then a younger, less known, less famous option that I also saw mentioned was Forrest Goodluck, and he is a Native American actor. Most famously, he played Leo DiCaprio's son in The Revenant, his son Hawk. And then he also had a role in The Miseducation of Cameron Post, which is a little more famous indie film from 2018. And he's also supposed to be appearing, I don't know the size of the role, but he's going to be appearing in the Russo brothers' Cherry, which is that Tom Holland drama that's supposed to be coming out early next year. So again, he's 22 years old, Native American. So those are just two options. I think those are both good, would both be interesting, good options. It's going to be, again, this information may not be totally accurate. They may cast, a black actor, a white actor, a woman, who knows? But yeah, I'm excited. I'm just, I could speculate all day, and I would love to see dozens and dozens of actors work with Jordan Peele. But yeah, it's going to be really cool. I think I'm looking forward to it. Another little piece of information also to throw in the same report that I saw about that casting info, supposedly this is going to be set in Los Angeles, and this the main character would be working at a Walmart, and they said specifically like the electronics section. So I'm not sure if electronics or technology is somehow going to play a factor into the movie or in the plot at all. It's completely like speculative, but Jordan Peele, I can totally trust him to come up with some really, interesting, thought-provoking and scary stuff.
Well, speaking of Jordan Peele, this next piece of news, we're going to run through these ones because most of these are just kind of like ideas, not really contextual stuff to discuss. But Jordan Peele is a voice on Big Mouth. Big Mouth season 4 is coming to Netflix December 4th. I don't know if you watched this show, Johnny. It's a adult animated cartoon from Nick Kroll. Absolutely hilarious, super crude, super image. I guess it's mature but immature at the same time. It's very sexual, very like filled with just like graphic stuff, but it's all like basically making fun of like middle school and puberty and all of this like horrific stuff that we all went through, and so we're all able to just like not fondly reflect on it, but be able to laugh at it now that we're through it. But it's a great show. This is going to be the 4th season. It's coming out, like I said, December 4th. They released a quick little trailer for it. And be sure to stay tuned for our review on November 30th. That's when the embargo lifts. So I'm checking that out as we speak, getting through that. So excited to share my thoughts on it. But if you haven't seen it, Johnny, I would recommend it. I feel like you might like it, but you also might just like turn it off and be completely scarred by the first scene. So.
I've seen a little bit of it, and it's definitely adult, very raunchy. It's funny. I mean, I liked it. I would certainly check it out at some point. So
yeah, I love John Mulaney, and he does like multiple voices on it. Him and Nick Kroll are like a dynamic duo. So it's hysterical, and it kind of has that same like, I don't know, like the Family Guy sort of like pop culture meta reference, like that whole like type of humor, which I really enjoy. But another quick hitter here, it's not a true episode without talking about a new live action Disney remake that's coming soon. So John Chu from Crazy Rich Asians, I guess that's his most recent title, is in talks to direct a live action version of Lilo and Stitch. Johnny, thoughts?
Yeah, it's funny because I always I don't speak very highly of these Disney live action movies. But I think I've said this before on the podcast, or at least maybe I've said it to you offhand. I didn't grow up on Disney movies that much. Like I wasn't really into like The Lion King as a kid, or Beauty and the Beast, or The Little Mermaid, or Mulan, some of the more popular ones, or even Aladdin or Hercules. But
you're just like hurting my heart every time you say something.
So I saw those later on as an adult or in my like teenage years. But Lilo and Stitch was like one of the few Disney animated movies that I watched a lot as a child.
Great movie.
And it was one of my favorite movies, and I really did love it. I played the computer game on like the Disney Channel, like
Sandwich Stacker.
Yes, yeah, one of my absolute favorites.
Yes.
I watched the TV show on there with all the different experiments or whatever they were called that were like come to the planet, and I just loved that whole aesthetic and all the characters. So yeah, this is, if there's one that I might be interested in, or I hope that they get right, just for the sake of my childhood or my nostalgia, it's this one. I think John 2 is a good choice. I haven't seen Crazy Rich Asians, still on my list, but I've heard nothing but good things. So yeah, I guess my one hope for this would be they keep it theatrical. Like they give it a good big budget. They make it for that space. And if it ends up on Disney Plus for whatever reason, pandemic related, theater related, so be it. But I hope that they don't kind of cheapen it or something.
Right. I think there's, like you meant, with the big budget, this is something that could just like eat up a big budget because of how many aliens and different creatures and spaceships and outer space, like all that stuff. It could, they really need to do that well, or else, like you said, it might come across looking cheap.
Right.
And I think that after seeing like what they're able to do with Baby Yoda, like they could even go some like practical aspects, or at least we know that like Stitch is going to turn into like a major merchandising item. So I think they'll probably like definitely try and go the cuteness route there to sell some merch. So
yeah, so fingers crossed for that. And also they better keep the damn music.
Hawaiian roller coaster ride, incredible.
Absolutely.
Another piece of Disney-ish news, Marvel news. Chris Pratt, we know, I don't even know why this was news, but it was reported, so I guess we'll report it as well, because we already knew it was happening. Chris Pratt headed down under to Australia to get on with his filming for Thor: Love and Thunder. That was already established, I guess. We knew that the Guardians were going to be in Thor for a little bit. We saw that at the end of Endgame, them all kind of meeting up on the ship. So don't really know why this, I guess, other than the fact, like, I guess it's confirmed that he is going at this moment. But any further reactions to that news, Johnny?
Yeah, just to clarify, they don't actually start filming until January. And I think I read that he's not even going to go down until then. He also is like wrapping up filming on something else or reshoots. He has a bunch of different things going on right now. My favorite headline that I saw regarding this said that worst Chris joins better Chris for Love and Thunder. So
sounds about right.
I'll be curious to see how much he's in the movie. It might be 2 minutes. It might be 30. It might be the whole thing. We really don't know enough at this point. So curious, but not like, oh wow, I can't wait for that specifically. I'm already excited for this movie. He's not the draw at all. But interesting nonetheless.
Yeah, I'm the same. I could care less. Like, I like the character Star-Lord. I don't really like Chris Pratt that much, but it's whatever.
Pedro Pascal for Star-Lord.
Ooh, mix it up. I like that. That came out of nowhere. But
I've seen it on Twitter.
News. Okay. Are we starting a campaign?
It's a campaign. Officially.
It's a movement, baby. All right, final piece of news before we get into this review of Freaky, and that is something that is exciting for me, considering that A Quiet Place was my number one movie of 2018. But we already know A Quiet Place 2 is coming out. It's supposed to come out last March, then this fall. Now it's next March, I believe. We'll see when that finally comes out. But fun fact, I was like literally 3 days away from getting to see that preview in theaters before everything shut down. And I was like, because there are people who have seen this movie and it's like moved indefinitely. So imagine being one of those people who's just having to like sit on your thoughts for all this time. But anyway, Quiet Place spin-off movie is coming from writer-director Jeff Nichols. He will write and direct the film, which is based on an idea from John Krasinski, the original film's creator. So Krasinski helped with it, is not obviously in charge of it, but this is going to be a spin-off. They said, very specifically said that, not a sequel or anything, not a Quiet Place 3. So I don't know whether this is going to be like a prequel, how did these monsters get here, or just the same time period taking place at another part in the world as other people try and go through the same thing and defeat these monsters. But my question for you is this too much? Like, we already know in the second one, it looks like we're going to get basically flashbacks to, obviously we know John Krasinski's in it. He died in the first one. So we're going to get flashbacks to like kind of the roots of all of this. So it seems like that's already going to be explored to an extent. Right. But do we need to know every single detail of the Quiet Place universe, or is this going to just doing way too much, or how do you feel about this?
So I'm not crazy about A Quiet Place. I didn't it didn't blow me away. I know a lot of people were like raving about it back when it came out. I wasn't excited for the sequel. I was like, oh man, I can't wait. I mean, I thought I was probably going to see it, just as an A-list member at AMC or something, but I don't know. Jeff Nichols, he's kind of been dormant for the last couple of years. He's like a well-respected, like regarded filmmaker. So his involvement is definitely the most intriguing or like most enticing aspect of this, or most promising aspect. John Krasinski, it's good that he's involved because he's kind of, from the beginning, he directed the first movie. So he has most knowledge. He's very familiar with the world, and he's probably been thinking about it a lot and working in that world. So I don't know. Yeah, I think it could be. I think if it does come out and if Nichols does write and direct it, I think it will be by far the best out of these 3 movies that they have made or are making. Just because he is very talented. And, shout out also, Jeff Nichols is an alum of the University of North Carolina School of the Arts. So shout that out. But yeah, I don't know. Again, kind of wishy-washy, but cautiously optimistic.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of the same. I don't want this to go, because I love the first movie so much and I love kind of like the singularity of it. Yeah. I'm okay with it being a sequel because like that's just kind of how things work now. Right. But I don't want this to be overdone. I don't want there to be too much, because that's kind of like the mystery of everything, is that we don't know how they got here exactly. We don't know how like everything works, and that's okay. Like that was one of my things that I loved about this, is that you were just kind of thrust into the world without ever really seeing much of like the establishment of it. So yeah, I think that I'm not familiar with the past work of Jeff Nichols really, so I can't speak to what you're saying, but I think that as long as they come at it with kind of a fresh approach, a new angle, not just sort of, okay, well, here's this other family that's going through the same exact thing in a different part of the world, but theirs is a little different. Like, I think then they'll be fine as long as they don't do that. Yeah, agreed. All right, well, it's time to review Freaky. It's going to be a freaky review, but yeah, because it wasn't great, but let's get into it.
Good morning. Morning. That's me, Millie. Ordinary, boring Millie.
I love your dress. I think I saw it at Discount Bonanza.
Okay, so I was never the most popular.
Homecoming's this weekend. Booker is gonna be at the dance.
And boys never really noticed me. Honestly, if this was a horror movie, I'd be one of the first ones to get killed.
Cue the creepy dude in the mask.
Like I said. But actually, it turns out...
Where am I?
I didn't get killed.
Oh my God, why do I sound like that?
I woke up in the killer's body.
The Blissfield Butchers.
So, Freaky, like I mentioned off the top, it's a latest theatrical release. How about that? From Universal and Blumhouse, directed by Christopher Landon, who has done previously the Happy Death Day franchise for Blumhouse. starring Vince Vaughn, starring Catherine Newton of Big Little Lies fame. She was also in, what else was she in? I can't think of it right now. Some like young adult.
She was in
Detective Pikachu and Blockers.
Detective. Yeah, I've seen her in Pikachu. Yeah.
So that's
I like
kind
her a
of
lot.
I know her most, I guess, from Big Little Lies as Reese Witherspoon's daughter.
Same.
But that's your main cast. The rest, I hate to say it, but not really important, not really impressive at all.
Oh God.
But those are the two draws for anyone who's looking to see this movie.
Right, for sure.
This is, so off the top, this is going to be a Zach review. Johnny's going to, similar to how we've done in the past, Johnny did not go to the theaters to go and see this, which I can't blame him for in the current situation of everything. So he's going to ask me questions about it after I give my brief rundown off the top. So this is currently sitting at an 85% critic score on Rotten Tomatoes, 81% audience score. But old Zach here gave it a 38 out of 100. 2 stars. So you're about to find out why. But first, a quick little plot synopsis. 17-year-old Millie Kessler spends her days trying to survive high school and the cruel actions of the popular crowd. But when she becomes the latest target of the Butcher, the town's infamous serial killer, her senior year becomes the least of her worries. When the Butcher's mystical dagger causes him and Millie to magically switch bodies, the frightened teen learns she has just 24 hours to get her identity back before she looks like a middle-aged maniac forever. So, basically, if you just listen to that, yes, this is Freaky Friday the 13th. That's obviously, the name is a play on that. This movie came out on Friday the 13th. It takes place on Friday the 13th within the movie. But yeah, the movie Freaky Friday, Jamie Lee, I guess there's the original one, but the one we all know, Jamie Lee Curtis and Lindsay Lohan swap bodies. And then obviously Friday the 13th, the Jason Voorhees slasher franchise. Mix those two together, and this is the movie that you get. And if you've seen the trailer, this seems to be like similar to the Happy Death Day movies, like a dark comedy, but also like a brutal like slasher, gory Blumhouse horror movie. And that I guess that's what they're going for. But this movie, one of the reasons I just did not care for it was because of the fact that it's just so all over the place. Like it tries so hard to be that comedy, but I never really found myself laughing. Right. It tries hard to be this slasher, gory thriller, but I was never holding my breath or scared at any point. And then it also like tries to work in like a emotional core, a relationship between Millie and her sister, Millie and her mother. Like it tries to focus on this family drama since the death of their father. And like that just seems out of place in between all of the jokes and the blood and guts. So that's another thing. It just like, it tried to be way too many things that it never really like settled in on doing any of them particularly well. And that's always a problem that I like. If that's the case, then I usually have a problem with that. Again, like I mentioned, performances, Vince Vaughn and Catherine Newton are good. Everybody else is just there. They're not a name you would recognize if you looked at the cast list. I'm not trying to be mean, Johnny, but like
I'm not saying you are.
It's just like
it's just sad.
Yeah, it is sad, but it's like there's not really like any sort of real supporting talent here. And that's also part of why the emotion kind of just absolutely misses, is because none of it's very convincing in the performances.
Well, that's a great point, because I was gonna, that was one of the main things I really wanted to ask you about. You're talking about these.
Let's hear it. Let's get into it.
Yeah, you're talking about like these emotional beats, and they're kind of like cringy, or they just fall flat. Like, are there any specific examples you could like tell us about, or like why they didn't work for you exactly? Like, why is it that they just was it the writing? Was it the performances? Was it kind of a mix of everything?
It's I would say both, a blend of both, because it's like I mentioned, it's the father has passed away, like, and then it's very cliche. It's like, okay, Millie's the girl who gets made fun of at school, but then when she comes home, like her mom has like turned to drinking wine all the time.
Why do they make fun of her? Is there a valid reason, or is it just because the plot demands it?
Yes, exactly. That's another thing I wrote. It's like anybody who sees Catherine Newton, who's seen her in anything else, Big Little Lies especially, you're like, this is not the girl that popular girls pick on, that jocks overlook. Like, this is the girl that everybody wants to be friends with. You're trying to really pass her off as some like shy, under the radar girl that has no friends. Like, that's not. You're not doing a very good job here.
Do you think it was a miscasting at that kind of?
Well, but the whole thing is that like that part doesn't work at all. But then once they switch bodies, she turns into like this boss ass bitch, because it's Vince Vaughn, the serial killer, in her body, using her body as to go through and go on a murder spree through the high school. So once like it's bad when it's Catherine Newton playing Millie, and then Vince Vaughn playing a serial killer is not great either. But then once they swap and it's Vince Vaughn playing a 17-year-old girl, or Catherine Newton playing a ruthless killer, then they both do that well, because she like goes from her geeky plaid skirt to wearing like a leather red jacket, and just like owning her looks, owning her popularity, her just like her sass, all of that. So that part of the casting works well, but I found it hard to believe the introductory part. But
yeah, and I think I'm also looking at her filmography, because I do like her a lot in Big Little Lies. It's kind of the main thing I've seen. But I totally forgot she was the murdered daughter in 3 Billboards in the flashbacks.
Yes.
Frances McDormand. But yeah, so I can see what you're saying about like kind of her performance and how that kind of helps and hurts it in a way. Like on the flip side with Vaughn, you were talking about earlier that his early 2000s, mid 2000s, like comedies, and that's how he kind of got really big and famous. But like, I feel like over the last years, he's been in some like more dramatic, like darker roles, like films in general. Like he did these couple movies with Craig S. Zoller, who did anyone who's seen like Dragged Across Concrete with Mel Gibson. But now this is kind of like definitely more comedic on the light side, but still has some violent, stuff in it. It's a little bit, kind of dark as it being a horror film. How do you think he did kind of returning to something in that vein?
Yeah, I haven't seen the two that you mentioned, but I saw him in Hacksaw Ridge, which is obviously not a comedy.
Right.
And then he was also in Fighting with My Family, which I saw in a small role, which is more of a drama. But to see him get back to the comedy, I saw him earlier this year actually in the Hulu original called The Binge, which was one of the worst movies I've seen, and he was not great in that. So like this wasn't really like a huge change from like I was kind of back to already used to seeing him in that setting again.
Okay.
But I mean, he is like I said, he doesn't really have much to do when he's very just like a stoic, stone cold killer of like, all right, I'm gonna stab you now, like that kind of like there isn't much to it. But then when he is in like his body is inhibited by Millie's character, like he does a nice job of playing. I guess it's like somewhat stereotypical of him just being like a teenage girl, but like there's some good stuff. It's funny, like he the girl or the high school boy that Millie has a crush on, like he finds out that they've swapped bodies, and so it's like Vince Vaughn and this high school teenager having like a romantic moment. And just funny. Like he does a nice job of kind of like embracing that, which is obviously a big switch from his like lumbering 6'5" frame, like that he's just like this huge massive guy. So that he does a nice job there. I mean, I think he, like I said, him and Catherine Newton do the most with what they've got, but other than that, it's kind of rough.
Now, two things about the rules of this movie. With regards, because there are rules like in Freaky Friday, as far as that whole premise. It's basically, from what I remember, I saw this movie in theaters like when it came out 16 years ago. And I don't think I've really seen it much since then. But from what I remember and from what I've read, they switch, but there's no like deadline or kind of like ticking clock aspect. Like it's not like, oh, we have like this long until it's like permanent. There's no way of fixing it. It's just they're like this and they need to figure out how to get back. Here it's apparently 24 hours, like they have till the end of the day or something. What do you think that was like to the film's benefit? Do you wish they had kind of done something else? Like, do maybe the story obviously would have been different in that respect? Just curious how you thought that worked versus like the Freaky Friday like classic.
Right. I mean, I think that I would say that it kind of, I don't really have an opinion one way or the other, I would say, but if I had to pick, I would say that it hurt it just because that's kind of like the ticking clock trope, I guess. It's kind of like the things that come, the trappings that come associated with that sort of storyline.
Yeah.
Of like, okay, we're almost there, then we get a setback, and then we have to overcome this obstacle to get to that. And okay, the time ran out, but wait, did it really run out or no? Like that whole, regardless of whether it's a horror movie or a comedy or a slasher, whatever, like there are different ticking clock movies where you have to race against the time to accomplish a goal. And so I think that by including those and narrowing it to that makes it a little, it hurts it a little bit versus, like you mentioned in Freaky Friday, we get to spend more time.
Yeah, it's very much like,
it's like, okay, well, we get to see how Lindsay Lohan is acting in Jamie Lee Curtis's body and spend 2 or 3 days with her as she's riding on the back of a motorcycle or doing like all of this. That's what I remember, other than the little kid putting the chopsticks up his nose. But that kind of like, I guess it would have been nice to explore a little bit more. I don't know if there was more to explore, but just,
it doesn't sound like there was, but
what does she do in his body? I guess this is more of a, switching with your mom is a little less traumatic than switching with like a serial killer and being on the run. So it's not like they're spending time just like finding their new self, but still.
Yeah. And then the other thing, like, okay, well, this was kind of made me go, what? Like when I read it in the synopsis, magical dagger.
Yes. So many questions.
He stabs her with it, and I guess he doesn't kill her. Does he miss? Or like,
okay, so first of all, this movie starts. It comes on very strong, and I was vibing with it because it's like 4 high schoolers sitting around a fire. Parents are gone. They're having some beer or whatever.
Right.
And like one person goes into the house and like, okay, well, first of all, they're telling stories about like, remember back in the 80s, like hearing urban legends about like the Blissfield Butcher and how he killed 4 high schoolers right before the homecoming dance. Yeah. Always a great story to tell when you're 4 high schoolers right before the homecoming dance. But so it's kind of like that urban legend. It's like, no, that didn't happen. It was in the 90s, or it was in 05, and this happened. Like this kind of like this mythology surrounding this person. And it's obviously right before the homecoming dance. And so then these 4 high schoolers get brutally murdered in the house. One gets a wine bottle shoved down his throat until it bursts out of his throat. And it's extremely gory. And I was like, okay, this is the route we're going. We're 30 seconds into this movie. Let's go. Another one gets like stabbed through the chest into the wall. Another one gets her head beaten in on a toilet seat lid. So it's really just like over the top. Like another one gets stabbed in the head with a tennis racket. So that's all 4 of them. But it's insane. And I thought that I was really going to like it after that, just because of like, we're really going for it. That's what I thought. But then it slows down a lot. But anyway, getting back to this. So this person, whoever's house they're at, the dad is like a collector of ancient artifacts and stuff. So this isn't even like the butcher kills those people and then escapes from their house, and he takes this magical dagger with him. So it's not like this is even like the butcher's dagger that he's used throughout the years to murder people or anything like that. Right. I'm pretty sure he just sees it in the house and decides to take it. So I don't think he knows like the powers associated with it, or we never really find out what the powers are, because like I don't know if this is something that happens every time with the dagger or not. And so he chases Millie down and ends up, it's at this midfield on a high school football field. And he has her pinned and tries to stab her. And it's the most horrific CGI ever. Like the field turns into like the top of an Aztec temple. And it's like lightning and thunder and stuff. And he stabs her in the shoulder. And I guess maybe he was supposed to stab her in the heart or something. Yeah. But so then they both like wake up the next day and they're each other. So that's it. No real rules to it that are really like explained or fleshed out, but it's magical dagger is like that. You had the right reaction to that.
Wow, I really thought that there was going to be a better explanation or something, but I'm getting the feeling that I would not like this movie.
Yeah,
so
I think that's a safe bet.
I'm glad that this was your end of the bargain, and I got pieces of a woman.
Very different. Very different.
Wow. All right. Do you have anything else that you would like to touch on or explain about?
I mean, I think that's pretty much it, man. There's not. This is.
It's not exactly Citizen Kane, is it?
It's the number one movie at the box office because of
Amazing.
the situation at the box office. But I mean, if you're looking, I guess, like, also another thing, this had to be it's a movie about Friday the 13th. It came out on Friday the 13th, but obviously just missed spooky season. So like, if this had come out in October, I could maybe like give it a pass just for someone who's like looking
desperate
for
to see
a new horror movie or
yeah.
something. Yeah, but I'm in November. I'm already gearing up for like the Christmas season. I'm not really trying to get into more horror movies.
Yeah. Fair.
So I that just like knocks it down even more. But you know, I wasn't crazy about it if you can't tell. But I guess there's enough interesting stuff with like the body swap concept and the way that Vince Vaughn and Catherine Newton both pull those off that makes it justifiable of 38 points out of 100, but it doesn't take it much higher.
Hey, go get those paychecks, guys. Catherine Newton and Vince Vaughn.
Heck yeah. So because there's no Big Little Lies season 3, you need income somewhere.
Exactly. So got to respect the hustle, but wish this would have panned out a little bit better for everyone involved. I think it's fair to say.
Agreed, especially for me who had to watch it. But let's get into, before we wrap this up, in honor of Vince Vaughn, like I said, we're going top 5 Vince Vaughn movies.
Absolutely.
Ranking 5 to 1. We'll take turns revealing ours. It's not a draft or anything, so there can be overlap. And cameos are fair game. So, I mean, if it's just a quick little glance of him, it's okay. It's a Vince Vaughn movie, baby. It doesn't have to be a starring vessel. So I kind of tried to keep mine for the most part, mainly Vince Vaughn starring roles.
Yeah, that's fair.
So I mean, go ahead.
I will say right from the top, we have the same exact movie for our number 5 pick.
All right. Well, I guess let's get into it. I'll kick this off here. So number 5, Dodgeball. That's okay. The reason I loved this movie, I loved it so much. Like when I first saw it and watching it growing up, Dodgeball, a true underdog story. It was great. But I will say I rewatched this like within the last maybe 2 years, and it just didn't hold up as well as it still has its funny moments, and I still quote all the time like, nobody makes me bleed my own blood, or like there's a lot of great moments in it
and gifts.
But yeah, definitely, yeah, bold strategy.
I say honestly, it's so funny you mention that because again, Dodgeball just came out years and years ago. I saw it when I was a kid, kind of loved it. I haven't really revisited it at all. Don't really have an interest to, but like I say on a regular, like daily basis, whether it's in a group chat, whether it's out loud or on Twitter, I use the GIF. It's a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it works out for him, pays off. Like that is such a classic. Like Jason Bateman as that commentator is so funny.
Yeah, I mean it's a great cast. A bunch of people that really like went on to do some incredible stuff, but again, didn't really hold up as well as I'd hoped. So that's why it's number 5. Otherwise, it probably would have been higher if I hadn't rewatched it and been a little let down. But all-time great scene is just like not scene, but like the concept of it is seeing all of these different, like the lumberjack team or skills that kills, or like the old people team that wears the sex clothes. Like I always thought that was like one of the most hilarious parts of this movie is just like seeing all of the different teams.
No, good call. Agreed. And that is a starring vehicle. Like he is the main character. So I got at least one of those on this list. Do you want me to take number 4, or you want to go with number 4?
Yeah,
first?
you go ahead. Let us know what number 4 is.
Number 4. He has a little bit of a bigger role in this. Not too big, but I wouldn't call it a cameo either. It is Steven Spielberg's The Lost World, Jurassic Park 2. For those of you who are less initiated,
I have your permission. I have your permission that I did not watch that movie. So this is all you.
No,
I asked you after I watched the first one.
I saw this movie when I was a kid. I loved the Jurassic Park movies, especially the first one. And that is really the only one now that I watch because it's like the only good one. But I had it was like a dual VHS package, and I had The Lost World, and I watched it all the time. So cool to see dinosaurs roam around San Diego and cause havoc. But Vince Vaughn does play. He plays like a side character. He's part of the kind of envoy that goes to the island and tries to help the dinosaurs and everything. He works with like Julianne Moore's character and Jeff Goldblum's character. He's kind of the comedic relief, of course, as you would expect. But yeah, I'm not crazy about that movie. I don't think it's a great movie or maybe even a good movie, but I do have fond memories of it. And it's Steven Spielberg, and I think it's cool he got to be in a Steven Spielberg movie. So
I can respect it. Haven't seen it, but I can respect it. Anytime you got old Spielberg on there, it's worthy of a top 5 ranking. My number 4, though, is a movie I mentioned earlier in this podcast, and that's Fighting with My Family. More of a cameo here. This is my one cameo that I was able to squeeze in to justify. But this is a movie that came out last year. Have you seen it, Johnny?
I have not, no.
So this was my introduction to Florence Pugh, actually. Wow. Ahead of Midsommar coming out, ahead of Little Women. But it's about a former wrestler. It's a true story, I guess probably somewhat embellished, but it was like produced by The Rock and written by Stephen Merchant, who's a great comedian. But it tells the story of a girl coming from like small town traveling wrestling family in England, and then coming across to the US and climbing her way up through like the WWE ranks to become a star. And that's who Florence Pugh plays. It's also got Lena Headey, Cersei Lannister.
Oh, wow.
She plays the mother.
Okay.
But basically Vince Vaughn is the like wrestling coach that teaches her, like trains her through the program. And it's like you mentioned, one of his more serious roles of he kind of like he's like kind of a dick to her, like edge, like the classic like I push you because I see your potential kind of coach. But I love this movie. It's one of the ones that like I felt like I was not enough people saw, and that I was like much higher on than most people. But I know you're a Florence Pugh fan as well, so I would recommend checking it out. Sure. I believe it's on Amazon Prime.
Yeah, I know. I grew up with WWE, so I know who she plays, Paige. So that's cool. Yeah, I might have to go back and check that out. It's very, very weird that, that was your first kind of real exposure to Florence Pugh, given her kind of huge coming out party last year with too much.
Yeah, 2019 was insane for her.
Or popular movies, but so that's a good pick. My number 3, again, cameo role, but I think again it's a movie I kind of loved when I was a kid, which is a strange movie I loved when I was a kid, but I think the action, I was really like enticed by the action. I think there's some good comedy in here. 2 beautiful human beings in the lead roles. So,
I know what you're going to say, baby.
That's a good combo as always. And it is Mr. and Mrs. Smith from Doug Liman.
Let's go.
He this is a really, it's a slick, fun, smart action movie from like the mid 2000s. And this was of course where Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie like kind of started their affair, and then of course got married, and he left Jennifer Aniston. But it's the start of all that, and he is so funny in his few scenes that he has as basically Brad Pitt's best friend at work in this like assassin program. And I just always remember there's this part where I guess Brad Pitt, I think it might be after Angelina Jolie's kind of found out about Brad Pitt, and he's not really sure. She might kill him. He doesn't really know. And he's at Vince Vaughn's character's house, and it's actually his mom's house. And he's like, he has like a gun in his hand, and they're like he's like really amped up. And then his mom says something. He's like, "Oh my God, Mom." He's like, I almost just killed you just there. You're this close. And that always sticks out in my head. So shouts to Vince Vaughn. again, comedic. It doesn't matter if he has 5 minutes screen time or if he's leading the entire movie. He always gets at least a few laughs out of me.
Yeah, this was one I love. Mr. and Mrs. Smith. It's a great movie. I did not peg you as a Mr. and Mrs. Smith guy, but I'm glad to hear it. That's great news. But this was it was on the cusp of my list, but then I decided to kind of try and keep to the starring role. So I decided to ultimately let this one go. But my number 3 is a movie that is very horribly reviewed, I'm pretty sure. But
I've seen bits and pieces of this.
I absolutely loved it. It's called The Internship. It came out in 2013. It has a 35% on Rotten Tomatoes and a 51% audience score. It's Vince Vaughn and Owen Wilson, and they're these two like down on their luck salesmen who they're like classic old school, like your dad's kind of like salesman. And their company they get laid off from their company, and they don't know how technology works. They don't know how to do an email or to do any sort of like technically savvy thing at all. And somehow they end up landing this internship at Google. So it's first of all, just very cool to see like Google campus and like everything. I don't know if it was actually shot there or not, but just like the imagination of like what that kind of like company mentality, what it would be like to work there. But I think it's hilarious. It's got Rose Byrne in it as well. Josh Gad, Josh Brenner, a bunch of people that like you would probably recognize, but not necessarily like love or anything. But I thought this movie was so funny, and I still kind of rewatch it. I remember watching it, I believe 2 or 3 times in theaters, actually. So like I was very in on this movie.
Wow.
And I'm still.
So this was like your Blade Runner 2049 in a way.
Okay, I'll say I think it was just 2 times in theaters, but still, yes.
Okay, that's cool. No, I have seen it. I've caught bits and pieces of that. I think on like cable or something. And it's fun. It's a fun, bright little movie. And they're a good team, him and Owen Wilson. Dating back, agreed. Of course, to like Wedding Crashers. So, my number 2 pick. Again, these are all going to be kind of smaller roles going forward, but a great movie. One I was very high on when I first saw it in 2016, and that is Hacksaw Ridge. He plays kind of this hard ass in the kind of boot camp, like kind of basic training that Andrew Garfield's Desmond Doss goes through. Again, so yeah, more serious role, but he does have some comedic fibers in that role, I think, with his timing, just the way like his delivery and everything. So he was a surprise too, because when I saw that movie, I didn't realize he was in it, and so I was surprised to see him in a movie like that. And then I was really impressed with the performance he gave and the way kind of his character's arc went, and then kind of combined with Andrew Garfield. And I was really high on that movie when I first saw it, and I still think it's a really great war movie and a very interesting and riveting true story. So, and his role was kind of no small part in that.
Yeah, I saw that actually at the UNC Student Union at one of their like free, back when they did free movies there.
Yeah.
I saw it once. I really enjoyed it. I don't remember it too well though, since it was back in 2016. Yeah. But definitely remember liking it, and I remember being impressed by him as well in a more dramatic role. And
it was cool to see him doing like he's in the battle sequences and like throwing grenades and like shooting like machine guns and stuff. So very, very interesting and fun change.
Right. My number 2 is perfect timing for this holiday season we are entering, because it's another movie that is, man, I'm sensing a trend with that nobody appreciates Vince Vaughn movies, but 4 Christmases came out in 2008. Vince Vaughn, Reese Witherspoon. You're talking 2008. That's prime time for Reese is always in style, but prime Vince Vaughn.
True.
That's like, who could ask for more for your classic holiday rom-com? 25% on Rotten Tomatoes, 47% audience score. Despite a strong cast, this sour holiday comedy suffers from a hackneyed script. Have you seen this movie?
I haven't. I have not. Is the 4 Christmases, are there like parents like
It's
divorced?
their
or something?
parents are divorced, so they
Okay.
have 4 different Christmases to go to. It's
Oh,
Vince
boy.
Vaughn, Reese Witherspoon, Robert Duvall, Sissy Spacek, John Voight,
Oh.
Jon Favreau, Tim McGraw,
Oh.
Kristen Chenoweth.
Wow. Okay, it's a star-studded cast.
Exactly, man. I think it's absolutely hilarious. Basically like these two are like the successful ones of all of their siblings.
Right.
And so like they're also like just very over the family drama, getting together with their like improper relatives.
Does Kristen Chenoweth play Reese Witherspoon's sister by chance?
Yes.
How would I have guessed that?
But so they like each year they tell their families that they're going to inoculate babies in Burma or something.
Oh my God.
So they like come up with this elaborate lie, but then end up going on like a tropical vacation.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah.
And so this year there's like a super bad storm or something, and their flight gets canceled, and they get interviewed on TV at the airport in their Hawaiian shirts to like about their flight being canceled. And so like their families know that they're in town and stuff, and so then they have to scramble and go to all of these 4 Christmases.
No,
and
okay.
I really enjoy it. It's one that I watch every Christmas, every holiday season. So despite poor ratings from Rotten Tomatoes, that has not affected my love for this classic.
Well, good on you, Zach.
If you need something to check out during this holiday season, I would recommend it.
It sounds pretty funny. I'm not gonna lie. Yeah. So that brings me to my number 1 pick, and that is the same number 1 pick as Zach, and that is the classic Will Ferrell comedy of 2004, Anchorman: The Legend of Ron Burgundy. Of course, again, smaller role, cameo role, but I mean, he's so spot on in these like few lines that he has. I mean, he's hilarious. He plays a rival to Will Ferrell's Anchorman at another studio in town, San Diego. And he has I think he has a funny wig on and like maybe sideburns or something. Cause it's set in like the 60s. But yeah, that's a great movie. It's a great comedy. It's a classic. And I think out of all those, I think this is like the best movie that he's been in, or like at least my favorite of the ones that I've seen. So, of course, I think the one thing I distinctly remember is he saves Ron Burgundy at the end, essentially. Like, I mean, he maybe doesn't save him, but he allows him to escape the bear pit out of respect. Like he takes the ladder and he lets him up, and he like kisses him on the forehead and then like walks away.
He's like, I don't like you, Ron Burgundy, but damn it, I don't respect you.
Like that line delivery. I mean, Vince Vaughn, that's like something he's always so consistent with. So I think it definitely highlights in that small little bit that like the fact that stuck with me. I mean, I remember seeing that movie in theaters. My 8-year-old little brain absorbing Anchorman. But yeah. Shouts to Anchorman for sure. And Zach, I'm sure you have your own little memories or remembering that movie.
Yeah, this is the antithesis of Dodgeball, because both of them are like classic comedies that I watched growing up.
Mm-hmm.
But Anchorman is one that's like I can quote the entire movie for you, and it still all holds up to this day. Like, yeah, it's not like Dodgeball where I go back and I'm disappointed by it. So that's, like you mentioned, not really a starring role, but he has his moments as Wes Mantooth. This is a movie that is the most quotable thing ever, even if it's just like a one-liner that makes no sense at any point. So saying Wes Mantooth immediately triggers me to say, Dorothy Mantooth is a saint, because Ron Burgundy makes some comment about Vince Vaughn's mother, and he has that.
They say he's going to take out his mom to like a nice
seafood dinner,
and then never call her again.
And but this is just like such a, reading the 4 Christmases cast, and you say it's star-studded, but this movie,
I mean, unreal.
Any person who's ever had any inkling of a comedic career is in this movie in 2004. And to see people like the most iconic scene, one of the most iconic scenes in like the history of film, I dare say, is the news channel brawl.
Oh,
where
absolutely.
you get the Channel 4 news team, and then you get Vince Vaughn and his crew, and then you get the Spanish news team led by Ben Stiller, and then you get like all of the everyone coming together, and it's just a who's who of comedic titans, and like the way that it gets out of hand with the weaponry and the horses and the man on fire and the trident, like incredible
It's
movie.
so
That's one that
good.
we'll need to do for rewatchables or all timers or whatever at some point, when because it's a classic. It's very deserving of the #1 spot on both of our lists, even with limited Vince Vaughn camera time. But
agreed, for sure. I mean, you could watch that. It came out in 2004. It was hilarious then. You can watch it now. It's still hilarious. I mean, you could watch it in 2044 and it'd probably still be just as funny as it was then and is now. So I think that's the most telling thing.
Agreed. Yeah, I'm definitely on board there. But that's it. That's the top 5 Vince Vaughn movies. We'll have to get Johnny on his Vince Vaughn binge so he can check out him as a leading man. But that was fun. That was a good time.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, that is also the end of our episode. Thank you all for listening and tuning in week and week out. We really appreciate it. Make sure you keep coming back and listening for more.
Yes, thank you guys so much. We couldn't do it without you, and we appreciate every ounce of support you can give, and a lot of that is, of course, on social media. Give us follows, like our posts, share them if you can, and that means following us on Twitter, on Instagram, on TikTok. Give us a like on Facebook. Subscribe on YouTube, where all the podcast episodes are also available, and all those accounts can be found at Inside Film Room.
And speaking of listening to the podcast, it's on YouTube, like Johnny said, but also make sure you subscribe, rate, and review wherever you get your podcasts, whether it's Apple, Spotify, Stitcher, Google, Amazon, wherever you can listen, we are there. And be sure to come back next week because we're breaking down Run, the latest movie coming to Hulu from writer-director Anish Chaganty. And be sure to check out our YouTube interview video from that coming up this coming week. And then, like I said, it'll be on the podcast as well with our full review. So check that out. It comes out on Hulu this Friday, and be ready for next week's podcast. But until then, we'll talk to you next time.